Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video we are going to be doing another unboxing, and in today's unboxing we have 3 aircraft. 2 of them are the same airlines, but these 2 airlines that we will be unboxing today are 2 airlines that I don't yet have in my collection, so these are brand new airlines into my collection, as I just said. And so honestly, without further ado, I think I'm just going to go ahead and jump straight into this. So I'm going to move the box off to the side as per usual, and then we're going to get out each of the aircraft individually first before then unboxing them in detail. And so starting off today, we have the first aircraft, which is a Ryanair Boeing 737 MAX 8-200. Now, if you're a little bit confused about that name, don't worry, I will go into detail about this aircraft in just a second. But this model in particular, this is an aircraft model store exclusive model. So the only place you can get this model from is the aircraft model store. Now, I believe they have a few left in stock. So if you do want to get one of these, definitely go check out the aircraft model store. The link for that will be in the description. But considering how common Ryanair are in Europe especially, of course, we don't actually get that many Ryanair models. I believe, of course, Gemini Jets have never released a Ryanair model. I believe they might have released one way back. NG have released the 737-800s a while ago. So it's pretty rare that we actually get a Ryanair release. So if you do want a Ryanair aircraft of some sort, definitely try and pick this one up from the aircraft model store because, yeah, as I say, Ryanair aircraft are pretty rare. But moving this one off to the side for now, we're going to get onto the next 2 aircraft. And as I said, these next 2 aircraft are from the same airline. These are the only 2 aircraft that this airline operates, but we have 2 of the NG Play aircraft. We have the Airbus A321neo here, and then we also have the NG A320neo on the right here as well. As I said, these are the only 2 types of aircraft that Play operates, and now I have both of them. I now have no need for any more Play aircraft. You know that if this was Gemini Jets, they would release one, and then 3 months later they would release the other one. So I'm pretty glad that NG went for the strategy of just releasing both of them in the same month's release. Of course, if you don't know, Play are a relatively new low-cost Icelandic airline. They operate from, of course, Keflavik International Airport. They have a lot of destinations into Europe, and then they have 3 destinations into the USA. One of those destinations being Baltimore, hence why I had to buy both of these aircraft, and they have operated both of these types of aircraft into Baltimore before, so I decided to get both of these to add into my Baltimore updates. But with that being said, we're going to take these off to the side as well, and we're going to start off with the Ryanair Boeing 737 MAX 8-200. And so, as I said, here we have the Ryanair Boeing 737 MAX 8-200. Ryanair were founded all the way back in 1984 as an Irish ultra low-cost carrying airline. That means you will get the bare minimum service on any Ryanair flight. They started operating a fleet of various aircraft like the BAC-111 and the ATR-42, but they quickly started their famous fleet of Boeing 737s, and nowadays they only operate the various types of the Boeing 737 family. They operated the 737-200, -300 and -400, however those were all retired in the early 2000s, and they quickly started their famous fleet of their Boeing 737-800s. They currently operate 243 of these -800s, and they are probably the most recognizable Ryanair aircraft at the moment. They also have one 737-700, but that's usually used for corporate and training uses, and then they also have 32 of these 737 MAX 8-200s. Now, Boeing have a range of their 737 MAXs. Of course, they have the MAX 7, the MAX 8, the MAX 9, and the MAX 10. These vary in length, of course, so the higher the number, the longer the aircraft is, and of course, with the longer the aircraft is, the more passengers you can fit onto that aircraft. The only 737 MAX type that Ryanair operates is the 737 MAX 8, but in classic Ryanair fashion, they decided to add more seats onto the aircraft that comes stock with the aircraft, and because of this, they actually went over the limit as to how many seats you can have in the aircraft in the event of an emergency. Every commercial aircraft has to be able to evacuate all their passengers in 90 seconds or under in the event of an emergency, and because Ryanair put so many seats onto this aircraft, they went over that limit. So because of that, they actually had to add an extra emergency exit onto the rear of the aircraft. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused because the 737 MAX 9 has the exact same emergency exit on these MAX 8-200s. Because, of course, there are so many people on this 737 MAX 8, they've actually had to add the same amount of emergency exits onto a MAX 8 fuselage that are on the MAX 9. So because of this extra modification to the MAX 8 fuselage, they've actually had to rebrand all of the Ryanair 737 MAX 8s as the 737 MAX 8-200. Of course, they get the 200 from the amount of people they can fit onto this aircraft. So a usual 737 MAX 8 operates with 178 seats on board, but these Ryanair aircraft have 197 to 200 seats on board this aircraft, which is a lot extra. Of course, you're going to get a lot less legroom on these aircraft versus other 737 MAX 8s, but this is how Ryanair do things. Ryanair have a long history with these cost-cutting schemes, so this one in particular, by adding 200 seats onto a MAX 8, they are able to increase their profits per seat by 5%, which, you know, Ryanair will take that. Any profit rise they can take, they will. In fact, when they first ordered their 737-800s in the 2000s, they actually requested that Boeing not include the window shades onto the aircraft just to save in cost. However, I think there's something legal about that. You actually need the window shade, so in the end, Boeing refused that modification to their 737-800s, but Ryanair did request that. And as well, I think the pinnacle of Ryanair cost cutting came when Michael O'Leary, the founder of Ryanair, requested that they implement a standing class into Ryanair. Yes, you heard me right, a class where you're not sat down, you're in a standing seat. Now, his justification for doing this would be that they wouldn't operate these aircraft with the standing class on very long flights. It was primarily between London Stansted and Dublin, which is only like a half-an-hour flight. And these standing classes would cost £1 for a flight between London Stansted and Dublin. But with that being said, finally getting onto the model, we can go ahead and open up my very first Ryanair 1-400 model here. And here we go, here's the aircraft. Inside here we can take the plastic off the top there, and then inside here we have the model itself. Starting off at the nose of the aircraft, here of course we have the 737 nose piece here, looking very nice. We have the wheel there, as you can see, the forward landing gear. We have the L1 door there. We have the Ryanair titles there with the Irish kind of harp symbol there. We have the blue underbelly with the orange kind of yellow line following that down the fuselage. We have those MAX engines with the chevrons at the rear of the engines there. And so taking a look at the rear of the aircraft here we have the split scimitars that look really nice in the Ryanair color scheme with the blue and the orange there. Then moving back here, as you can see, we have the emergency exit I was referring to. So these are commonplace on the 737 MAX 9s, but Ryanair are the only 737 MAX 8 operator to include this emergency exit on a MAX 8 fuselage. Moving back, we have the registration, which is Echo India Hotel Alpha X-ray. We have the rear emergency exit, or the rear door there, I guess you could call it. And then back here we have, of course, the Ryanair tail with that Irish harp logo on the tail there. And there we go. Honestly, I'm really excited to add this to my collection. I don't have many European short hauls, but I do have a few EasyJets and Wizz Air aircraft, so I can't wait to add that into my small kind of European short haul collection there. While Ryanair is generally hated, I do have this fascination with the airline, so I'm pretty glad that I now have one of these in my collection, and I think it's going to look really good. And honestly, the model itself looks really, really nice, and if you want one of these, again, go check out the Aircraft Model Store, because I believe they have a few left in stock. And here is play. We have the A320neo on the left and the A321neo on the right, and these actually come at a pretty interesting time, because literally 2 days before this video goes up, my cousin has recently visited the UK. He lives in the DC area, and he flew back 2 days ago on both of these aircraft. He flew the A320neo from London Stansted up to Keflavik, and then the A321neo from Keflavik over to Baltimore. Now, I'm actually getting both of these aircraft because of my Baltimore updates. They primarily fly the A321neo to Baltimore, but they do also fly the A320neo as well. Play, as I say, they are a relatively new airline. They kind of took the place of WOW Air. They started to a bunch of European destinations, I believe about 2 years ago. They fly primarily to kind of places like Copenhagen, London Stansted, and then a lot of places around Spain and those kind of areas as well. And they are, of course, increasing that over time. For example, they are now starting their second UK destination destination into Liverpool. So they will fly from Liverpool and London Stansted to Keflavik now, and a bunch of other European destinations, as I said. And they now also have 3 US destinations as well. They fly to the kind of 3 big cities on the east coast of the US. They fly to Boston, they fly to New York, but they fly to the Stewart's Airport in New York, well, just outside New York technically, and then they also fly to Baltimore. I think their aim is to kind of go with what WOW Air originally had, and that is kind of a low-cost transatlantic service while connecting in Keflavik. But as I say, because my cousin has recently flown Play, I kind of have an inside scoop as to what they're like, and surprise, surprise, being a low-cost airline, they are not great. You have to pay for hand luggage, you have to pay for any luggage in the hold, you have to pay for food, you get no in-flight entertainment, and the seats, of course, the legroom is not great either. However, the silver lining of this airline is they are very cheap. You can actually fly transatlantic for as little as £400. They currently have 3 Airbus A321neos with a further 1 on order. Those 3 Airbus A321s that they operate were actually originally ordered by Interjet, so all of the information inside the aircraft is in Spanish. I know that, of course, because my cousin sent me images of the safety information, and it is in Spanish and English. Then the A320neos, of which they plan to have 6 of in the future, I believe these are actually procured from the Airbus production line after they were ordered by another airline. And now my cousin flew, of course, on the A320neo from Keflavik to Stansted, and he noted that all of the information on the A320neos was in Russian. So now what I believe is, of course, with these Russian sanctions because of the Russia and Ukraine conflict, so I believe that originally these aircraft were ordered to be Russian operated, but then, of course, when they couldn't sell them to Russian airlines, they sold them to Play instead. But with that being said, we're just going to go ahead now and open up both of these models. I don't yet have an A320 or an A320neo from NG, so that is going to be very interesting. And so the first aircraft we have here is, of course, the A321neo. NG have had the A321 mold for quite a long time, so here we have the first model there, the A321neo. And then taking the second model here, we have the A320neo. And here we go, inside here, taking off the plastic covering, we have the A320neo and the A321. But yeah, I probably won't go through these aircraft in too much detail because they are kind of the same, but as you can see, it is just a red aircraft. We've got the Play logo on the front there, and the same with the A321neo as well. Then we have the Play logo again on the tails. Back there we have a Wi-Fi box on the top of both of the aircraft. We have the registration with the Icelandic flag, and apart from that, honestly, we have the winglets, we have the engines, the Neo engines, of course, with, I believe that says play.com on the engines, but apart from that, they are pretty much the same. But yeah, apart from that, that does conclude this very low-cost unboxing. I can't wait to add the Play aircraft into some Baltimore updates. I will primarily probably have the A321 in Baltimore updates, but we will occasionally have the A320 as well. Of course, the A321 primarily operates into Baltimore, but we have occasionally had the A320 as well. But I am just very glad that we finally have the Play aircraft for our Baltimore updates. We just now need Air Senegal and Condor, and we are set. So with that, I want to thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.